Hello and welcome, this is Mike D, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Autofocus Suite product, which was initially created in order to control DAZ Studio with devices as the 3D connection mouse in the Price Edition, the Elgato's Stream Deck Plus, and the Elgato's Stream Deck Classic device with the 15 keys. Today I'm going to show you how to use this suite as a standalone application for DAZ Studio. First thing I have to do is to install the package into DAZ Studio. You have to navigate through your main library into the path scripts Mike D Autofocus Suite and execute the first script Add to Menu and to Toolbar. Executing the script, a dialog will pop up. In this dialog, you can select between a minimal installation, a default installation, and installation for interaction with some external devices. This dialog has three columns. The first column is responsible to add the selected scripts into the script menu. The second column is responsible to add the selected scripts into the toolbar. And the third column is responsible to remove any selected script you have already installed into DAZ Studio. Hovering the mouse above the last column will show you in a tooltip the purpose of the selected script. I'm going to leave these default options for now, and I'm going to press the Add to Menu button. As you can see now, a pop-up message prompts me to restart DAZ Studio, and this is what I'm going to do. Back to DAZ Studio, and as you can see, I have loaded an old promo scene in order to work with. I have to clarify here that most scripts are working with a current camera, and saying current camera, I mean any custom camera in the active viewport. Over here we've got to select the perspective view, but the scripts will look for any custom camera and not all these predefined DAZ views. If there is no custom camera selected over here in the active viewport, the scripts will search in the Scene tab for any selected camera. I will work in two viewports, so I'm going into the window viewports and select the side by side. And if I have multiple viewports in my scene, the active viewport is the one with the yellow frame around it. I'm pressing the last button in the toolbar, which is the toggle on-off the left and right dock areas, in order to maximize my working space without losing the toolbars around my scene. You can achieve the same functionality or similar functionality using the menu window, full screen mode in DAZ Studio, or by pressing the Shift and F11 key. The problem is that sometimes when you set it back off, this function crashes DAZ Studio. Let's create now the main camera for our scene. Let's change the angle or somewhere around here. And now let's press the new camera tool over here. Pressing the button, a new dialog will pop up into the scene, and over here I can select from the most common focal points for the camera. I'm going to choose the 105mm as it is suitable for portraits. I am selecting the new camera into the left viewport. This is the camera 105mm, and at the same time I'm going to rotate the right viewport to the left side of Lucy in order to set some custom views. I'm going to do the left viewport now, and I'm going to set the new camera to more appropriate position. I can see here that by dragging the cube in any direction, the camera is not moving. This has happened because by default, using this script, the new camera is locked to the new position. I've got to unlock the camera, and I have to press this button over here. Each time you use any of these scripts, take a look over here on the status bar, as the status bar displays any information, any new information we need to know. I'm clicking the lock and lock script, and now the camera is ready to move it into another position. I can use now these controls to reposition my camera into a new, more suitable angle. Let's say that it is pretty good over here. It's a good habit to lock the camera again in order not to accidentally move it into another position. You may have noticed that each time I hover my mouse over the new tools in the toolbar, the tooltip is pop-up. If I'm holding the mouse here, I can see that these three scripts, create some custom views to the current position. If I'm going to hold the control key at the same time I'm pressing one of these three buttons, a new custom view will be saved for the current camera's position. Let's go now to my right viewport. I'm clicking on it to make it active. You can see the yellow frame around it. And by holding the control key, I'm going to press V1. Now a custom camera has been created for this position. Each time you press V1, you can see here that the custom camera is now the selected one in the active viewport, and by pressing it again, it will always return to the perspective view. Now I'm going back to the left viewport. I'm clicking on it to make it active, and I'm going to set the DOF property on for the current camera. The DOF property, or the depth of field, as you can see here in the status bar, it said that the DOF property was turned on. The depth of field is the property that allows us to have a clear render on the focused item and blurred areas in front and behind it. Now, turning the dock areas on, I'm going to select the main camera. And as you can see here in the right viewport, we've got two planes in front and behind Lucy. All the area between these planes is going to be clear in the final render. If I'm going over here, I'm going to unlock the camera and set it a little bit to the side. Lock it again. And going into the scene, I'm going to select again the main camera. You can see now over here that there is a point with a crosshair with the green and the red line, which is the focal point of our current camera. The selected camera is the main camera over here. All the space between these two planes and the focused area, the focused point, is the clear point of our render. All the other space in front and behind these planes is going to be blurred. There is another, more convenient way to see the cleared areas and the blurred areas in your scene. Let's go to the left viewport and set the NVIDIA array without being mandatory. Now, pressing the DOF far icon, in reality we set the far plane visibility on, which means that a white plane will be visible in our scene. This white plane represents the plane behind Lucy. As you can understand, every icon is behind this plane, so it is not visible to us, will be blurred in the final render. If I switch it off and turn on the DOF near visibility plane, another white plane will be visible in our scene, and this plane represents the plane in front of Lucy. In this case, every item that it is visible to us will be blurred in the final render. So in this case, all the visible items are items in front of this plane. Let's set it off. How can we adjust the space in order to get bigger or smaller and get more cleared item or more blurred item in our final render. We can do it by hitting the f-stop button over here, and a dialog will pop up. As you can see, the current f-stop for our camera is 22, and I can open this drop-down menu and choose another value. Remember that increasing the value will increase the space from the focus point in front of Lucy and behind Lucy as well. So increasing the value will increase the cleared areas. Let's say that I want to set it into 90, and as you can see, as the camera is updated automatically, now I've got a larger clear area for my scene, including Lucy's arm. If I want to narrow this area, I've got to set a smaller value, let's say something like 2.8. Now, as you can see, it is very small, the area, the focused area and the clear area around Lucy. When we render a portrait, it is essential to focus on our model's eyes. Let's see now a series of scripts that add new functionality into DAZ Studio. Although there is a property in camera's settings in order to move the focal point closer to the camera or further from the camera, it is sometimes very difficult to do it manually. Let's see now the new script focus, which will focus our selected camera into the selected node. Let's pick Lucy's head and let's press this icon. If our selected item is a figure like Lucy and have left and right eye, the script will find it out and it will ask if we want to focus the camera in Lucy's eyes instead of her head. Let's say yes, and as you can see now, the script automatically focus the camera, make the camera focus on Lucy's eyes level without rotating the camera left, right, up or down. Lucy is holding a necklace in her right hand. Let's say that I have changed my mind and I want to focus on the necklace stone. I'm going to find this object into my scene because it is blurred and I can't pick it directly from my viewport. This is the necklace rock, and now that I've got my camera selected in the active viewport and the necklace selected in my scene, I can press the focus again, and as you can see, now the camera is focusing on the necklace instead of Lucy's eyes. Let's get it back to have better render. What about if I want to relocate Lucy or my camera into the scene, and at the same time I want the camera to stay focused on Lucy's eyes? There is another script in the package called autofocus, which brings new functionality in DAZ Studio. This script is tracking both my main subject and my camera's position in the scene, and it refocuses my camera into my object each time one of them is repositioning into the scene. Now, having Lucy's head selected in my active viewport, I'm going to press the icon to open the script's dialog. As you can see, the script has recognized that Lucy is a rigged item with left and right eye, and the option to focus on Lucy's eyes instead of the head, which is the current selection, has now appeared. I'm going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to switch the autofocus on. let's test this script. In my right viewport, I'm going to change a little bit the angle, and I'm going to select Lucy. Now, I'm going to bring her a little back to the scene over here. I believe it is okay. And I'm waiting for Array to refresh itself. And at the same time, I'm going to select this main camera. As you can see now in the right viewport, the script make the camera refocus on Lucy's eyes. So each time I'm going to move my main model or even the camera will stay focused on my main subject wherever it goes. Let's bring Lucy back to the original position, as I can see now that she's not holding the necklace anymore. Let's undo the movement. If you want to make manual focus or even relocating your figure or your camera without having the camera always be selected at the same spot, you can always change the autofocus item. Sorry, I've got to be on the active viewport. You can switch autofocus off or reselect it with another object. I'm going to set it off now, as I don't need it for the next examples. Let's turn the Array off, back to texture shaded, as I want to demonstrate a very powerful script of the suite. The next script is also adding new functionality to the studio, and it is called perspective compression. It is more a photographical term, which means that we can get our camera closer to our model, and at the same time we can decrease the focal length, or in the opposite direction, we can get the camera further away from our model and at the same time increase the focal length, so the model keeps the relative size the same into the scene. It is a very handy script that allows us to have more options about which items we will include in our final render or not from the background of our main model. Let's see now an example to understand how it works. I'm selecting Lucy's head and I'm going to execute the script. As you can see, the script recognizes that Lucy is a figure, and a message prompts me to focus on Lucy's eyes instead of the head, which is the current selection. I'm going to apply with yes, and now a new dialog has popped up. Now in this dialog I can see that there are two sliders. One for the camera's distance from the target, and the second is the camera's focal length. I can change either of these two sliders in order to achieve the outcome I want. Now let's change the distance from the target level by getting the camera further away from Lucy's head. Let's increase this value, and as you can see, as I'm going further away from Lucy, the focal length is also increasing, and I've got a compression in the background. I can see now less items, and Lucy is still have the same relative size in my scene. I am now at 343 millimeters approximately to the focal length. If I want now to get closer to Lucy and lowering this value, I'm going to get my camera closer and closer, and at the same time the focal length is getting lower in order to keep Lucy in the same relative size. But now I've got a lot of more information in the background. As you can see now, I can see the trunk over here, the beams and a part of the stairs. By adjusting this slider, you can get a new perspective, and you can set how many items you want in the background, giving you new possibilities and new options about your render. If you are satisfied with the outcome, you can press the done button. I've got to say that this script has an undone action, so if you're not happy with the result, you can always press the undo, and you will be back into the original position. The next script is about changing the focal length of the current camera without messing around with DAS menus, selecting the camera, or every other work needs to be done. Let's see now, having over here the main camera active in the viewport, I can click on the set focal length, and as you can see here, I've got a slider changing the focal length on the fly, so I can see which is the focal length that is suitable for me for my current render. If I'm happy with the result, I can press the done button, and this script has an undo action over here if I'm not happy with the final result. The next two scripts are resetting the cameras or the selected items axis tilting into the Z-axis or the XZ axis. Let's see an example to see how they work. Let's go and rotate now the current camera. Let's unlock it first. And by holding the control key and the right mouse button, I'm going to rotate the camera in a weird angle. Let's say that this action has been done accidentally, and I haven't any more the undo action for this mistake. In the active viewport, I've got the camera selected, so all I have to do is just press this icon over here, and as you can see now, the camera has moved to reset this tilting into the Z-axis. Let's do the same with Lucy, and first of all we're going to select her into the scene, and in the parameters tab we can rotate her into the X-axis and at the same time into the Z-axis. If I'm going up here into the toolbar and I'm going to press the XZ tilting script, as you can see now, Lucy is back into the original position. I hope that this suite is greatly handy to you and into your new renders. You can find this suite exclusively in the DAZ 3D, and thank you for watching my video.